My name is Ryan, and I've always considered myself a pretty well-adjusted guy. A boring 9-to-5 office job, a few close friends, modest apartment. My life follows a comfortably predictable rhythm. At least it used to, until the nightmares began. It started harmlessly enough. One night I had a vivid dream where I was trapped in a maze no matter what turn I took. When I woke up, I thought nothing of it. A weird, unsettling dream, yes, but nothing alarming. However, the next night I found myself right back in that endless maze. I ran down the narrow stone corridors, futilely searching for an exit but finding only dead ends. The details were identical to the first dream. I awoke even more unnerved, but wrote it off as a strange coincidence. But on the third night I stood back in that stone labyrinth once again. This time when I bolted awake, I felt true fear. How could I keep returning to the exact same dream? As I sat in bed with my heart pounding, I hoped it was just a short-lived phase. However, the nightmare continued visiting me each night. No matter how I tried to shake myself from sleep or calm my racing mind before bed, I would end up wandering the maze alone and terrified until morning finally freed me. Different dream details would vary. Sometimes the walls oozed blood, other times faceless specters pursued me. But the setting remained the same. A prison I was condemned to re-enter every night. I became anxious and withdrawn, dreading when darkness would fall and sleep would come. My work performance suffered as I trudged through each day, exhausted both mentally and physically. But closing my eyes brought no rest, only a return to the stone labyrinth. Desperate, I tried every remedy people suggested, changing my diet, stress-relieving meditation, even hypnosis to interpret possible meaning in the dreams. But nothing slowed their nightly assaults. Soon, a pervasive sense of dread consumed me even in my waking hours. I withdrew socially, fearful that sleep would overtake me while out, or that someone might morph into a nightmare specter. My tenuous grip on reality was slipping as the lack of rest took its toll. Finally, I decided I had to do something drastic. I started forcing myself to stay awake for days on end, determined to temporarily escape the maze. I swallowed pills to override my body's pleas for sleep. But eventually, my exhausted mind would shut down and I would find myself lost in the stone corridors again. By now I had become skeletal and deranged from the endless battle with sleep deprivation. Colleagues urged me to get psychiatric help, but doctors just labeled me an insomniac. They didn't understand I wasn't avoiding sleep willingly. I was avoiding the horrors that waited for me each night. But my manic efforts to stay awake could only work for so long. One night, against my will, I collapsed from utter exhaustion. Back in the maze, I let out a desolate howl that echoed mockingly off the walls. I broke down sobbing hopelessly on the cold floor. When I regained bleary consciousness, I was in a psychiatric facility on a 72-hour hold. They said I'd been raving nonsensically when found unconscious in my apartment. But now, lucid again, I saw only suspicion in my doctor's eyes when I described the looping nightmare. Discharged after the hold ended, I returned home defeated. If this was a battle with my own mind, it was one I was losing. Each nightfall filled me with crushing dread. I considered more desperate measures: pain to keep me awake, drugs to coax dreamless sleep, but knew these were only temporary fixes. The simple truth was an inescapable nightmare had invaded and ravaged my once orderly life. My only hope now was to somehow accept that when I close my eyes, I'll end up running through those stone corridors, alone and terrified until morning finally comes. I don't know what twisted part of my psyche manifested this nightly torture, but like an inmate sentenced to relive the same day over and over, I feel powerless to break the endless loop. Exhaustion constantly haunts me as I plod through the motions of my daily routine. Each night my nightmare awaits. Maybe someday I'll escape the maze for good. But for now, all I can do is brace myself for the labyrinth each time I sleep and pray morning's light will free me once again.